What's up, everybody? Good afternoon. Game just wrapped up a few minutes ago here. Seahawks do not come up with the comeback win. They fall just a little bit short, 19 to 15 in Green Bay. So concludes the preseason, and overall, I think you would call it a successful preseason. You go 2-1. You mostly look good. There are some areas of concern, of course, but overall, I think we as Seahawks fans have a good deal to be happy about. And that includes coming from this game. It was a little bit of a weird game because the Seahawks were playing basically no starters, and the Packers did for a couple of drives at the start of the game. So early on, it was just tough to get anything going. But we hung in there. We didn't let Green Bay run away with the game early just because they had their some of their main guys out there. Like Jordan Love was playing, Christian Watson played. There was some AJ. I didn't see any Aaron Jones, admittedly, but they did have AJ Dillon. They had starters on the offensive line. They had some starters in on the defense as well. I think Kenny Clark was out there for at least a little bit. So early on in the game, when we really could have let things get away from us because it was just a mismatch, we didn't. So that was great. And then later on in the game, we were able to actually do some productive things. We eventually got some stuff going on offense. And you're coming away from this game feeling like given the fact that Green Bay was making up for lost time because of the preseason time they lost last week, I think partially. Pretty good. Pretty good. There are going to continue to be some areas of concern as we head into the regular season, but at the same time, you don't really want to make any judgments based off this game when, other than special teams guys, the only guys who really played have a chance to start would be Devin Bush and Mike Jackson, right? Everybody else, I don't see anybody who's going to start barring injuries. So, good all around game. We were 12 yards away from winning it at the end there. We had a fun little ending, cool stuff happening there right at the back end of it, and we even got a little bit of Holt in action, and overall, I think it's fair to say he played pretty well for the little bit that he got to play. So, hey, I'm happy. Happy with the way this preseason went overall. I'm going to call this one successful. It was better than last year's preseason. I don't know if you guys remember, last year's preseason was rough. We had 2 games we played kind of okay, and then 1 game we played terribly. There was nothing like that this preseason. We never looked terrible, even when we had our 3rd and 4th stringers in throughout this preseason. There was consistently pretty good stuff to watch. So let's dive in a little bit about today. So, like I said, game starts out a little bit weird because we've got all our backups in, and Green Bay is playing some starters. I think they were playing a lot of starters the first few drives just because they actually have some things they're still trying to sort out, I believe, because of what happened last week in the second preseason game for them. So we couldn't really run the ball at all to start. Charbonnet was running into a brick wall over and over again. Couldn't really get anything going on the ground. He had like the 1 catch. Other than that, tough sledding. But I got to give it up to Drew Lock for hanging in there and doing what he could. He didn't play a great game or anything. He didn't play amazing. But he was under duress a lot and was able to consistently get the ball out. Didn't take any sacks despite getting pressured a pretty good amount. And he was able to find targets underneath quickly. He was able to get the ball to receivers in position to at least go make positive gains. And despite the fact that we were clearly outmatched, we were outmanned, he was able to at least play competently, I thought. So even though we didn't move the ball much at first, I still thought that Drew Lock was playing pretty well. There wasn't really a lot to celebrate early on because, like I said, we were just a little outmatched. But as that game went on and we got into the second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, and Green Bay started to sub in their backups, then we started to see some better things. It still wasn't great, but Locke made 1 bad throw in this game. It was the 3rd and short where he telegraphed the pass to Bobo, and it should have been picked off. It probably should have been taken back, actually, but it was dropped. That was his bad throw for this game. Other than that, he at least played fine. I'm not going to say he did anything insane because there were a couple of throws where he had the opportunity to hit a big play, and he was more focused on just getting the ball out quickly underneath, which I'm not really going to get upset at him about. But he had a wide open touchdown to, I think it was Cade Johnson at one point, that he just did not see, and instead he checked it down to the tight end that brought up fourth down. There was one other play where I think he probably could have had a big one if he had just held onto the ball and looked deep for a second, but he took the check down. And again, I'm not going to crucify him for that. By no stretch of the imagination am I going to get upset, or should anyone really get upset about Drew Lock recognizing that there's a little bit of a mismatch between his offensive line and the opposing pass rush, and just tried to get the ball out quickly. But he missed an opportunity to make some great plays, and because of that, I can't say he played great, but he also made some great throws out there that does showcase why he is a talented player that some people just can't totally bail on yet, despite not showing a ton yet. Like the touchdown pass to Bobo, and by the way, Bobo played another pretty good game. Not that anybody should have doubted this before, but Bobo looks like he's got that roster spot pretty much on lock. No way he doesn't make it at this point. If he doesn't make it, then I don't know what we would have needed him to do to make it, because he's done pretty much everything you could have asked for. Another great touchdown catch today. Awesome stuff. So that was really the main positive out of the key receivers. And if you want to go to the more reserve receivers, Aesop Winston Jr. had a really nice series in that fourth quarter with Locke. And maybe because of the receiver issues we have right now, with all these guys being injured, with all these things going on, we might be able to get Aesop Winston on the roster for at least a little bit. And it looks like he can do some stuff. There is a level of comfort between him and Locke. There is a level of comfort with him in this offense. So that was the other main highlight of the offense, I think. As the game went on, I think the offensive line played well in pass protection for the most part. Early it was rough, but some of that was because of the mismatch stuff I was talking about. As the game went on, it got better. The run blocking, it had its moments. But overall, you can see that run blocking may be a little bit of a problem for this team. I know it was all backups, but I think just in general, there's going to be some issues run blocking this year, which, hey, more for this passing attack. I'm sure this passing attack can handle that, but I think we're going to see a game or two, at least a couple of games this year, where the run blocking doesn't really look all that different from today. Thompson had one long run. DJ Dallas had a few really good runs on that one drive that ended in the second quarter touchdown. But other than that, nothing really got going running the ball. It was tough sledding. And again, it's all backups. I understand that. But it feels like it goes a little bit deeper than just who the players are. This is just going to be one of those years where it's a little tough sledding running the ball. Like, some people are saying that Oluwatimi is going to come in and change our offensive line and save us. Oluwatimi didn't play that well today, and I'm not killing him for it because it was his first game back from an injury, and he hasn't really gotten to practice that much lately. But Oluwatimi did not play that well today, so I don't think you can look at him as a savior. And if you're looking at somebody like an Anthony Bradford to be a savior too, I just don't see any reason to believe he's ready. I don't think he did anything necessarily awful today. He didn't look terrible or anything like that, but I'm not seeing any reason to believe he's ready to play right now. So that probably just kind of is what it is, but give it time. Other than that, I mean, obviously Holton comes in at the end of the game, and it doesn't really mean that much, but he does lead us down the field, do some very productive things, make some nice throws, can't finish the job. I still don't know what we're going to do. Are we going to keep him on the practice squad, or are we going to go get a better quarterback for the practice squad? Like, someone who isn't a big-armed fullback, who is not poor man's Taysom Hill. I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do. He looked okay, but you see the limitations. There's no mustard on his hot dog. There's not much to his arm. But maybe we can live with that on the practice squad. I don't know. That's going to be an interesting decision that we make this week. I'll talk about that more probably in a future video, but Holton, I guess, played okay. At least he showed pocket presence, I can say that. At least he showed some pocket presence, but his decision making down by the goal line was a little bit rough. Well, I mean, once he got in the red zone, rather, like taking off to run when there was only like 2 or 3 yards to get, when the clock is the enemy, was not a good decision. And obviously, he just kind of lobbed it into quadruple coverage at the end there. So you see the issues, the limitations with Allers, but hey, he is fun. And there is something to be said about a quarterback that opposing defenses are going to have a hard time dealing with because he's just so different from the typical quarterback. Landers, a little bit of a disappointment that he didn't do more in this game. 2 catches on 5 targets. Not really much going on with Landers. He did have one drop, I think. He had a couple of throws that were just off target, so he wasn't able to make a big impression. I still like Landers. I still hope that he makes this roster because... I'm sorry, not this roster, but this practice squad, because I believe there's some real talent there. But he does not really look like he's ready to contribute at an NFL level to me. We do have a couple guys who are looking like that, but Landers doesn't seem like he's one of them. Colby had a good game. Colby made several catches. He was the recipient of several of the quick passes Drew Lock had to throw to beat the pressure, and he looked good. And I don't know what's going to happen with Colby this year. He is third string right now, but situationally, there's got to be some way to get Colby out there frequently because he's a unique talent, unique player, and I'm pretty excited to see what he can do in a contract year. Hopefully, you can just get him on the field enough for it to matter. So, mostly that was the offense. That's really all I have to say about pretty much anybody on the offensive side of the ball. There was some good stuff for sure. Hopefully, Bobo is ready to go for week 1 because now we're going to need him. Part of me wondered if we should even play him this game. We did, and it doesn't seem like anything bad happened. But, yeah, definitely put that guy on ice. Get him ready for week 1 because we're going to need him until JSN gets back. I believe Bobo is going to play significantly for this offense. Defensively, again, they were outmatched early in the game, and they held tough. They held Green Bay to a field goal early. They did give up that touchdown drive a little bit later, but they were going blow for blow with an offense that was playing a decent chunk of starters. Jordan Love was out there for like 3 or 4 drives. A.J. Dillon got the ball a good, healthy amount. I know he's not their starter, but he is a key part of that offense. So they were tested, and I think they played fairly well overall. They played the run well. We gave up that one long run on the first carry of the game, and then after that, things were pretty good until the very end when you have your third and fourth string guys in there. I think that Matthew Gotel was somebody who kind of stood out as maybe someone who has earned consideration on the practice squad, who I wasn't really thinking about before. He played well today. Levi Bell wasn't as splashy as he was in the first couple games, but he was playing inside a lot, which tells me we're trying to find room for him on this team, but we need him to be able to play inside on the line, not just as an edge. So we're trying him in that role, and I mean, he didn't play badly. He made some nice plays. He did some good things. So maybe that's what we're trying to figure out here. Remember, we don't have Mike Morris for I would say at least a few games here. So maybe Levi Bell works his way onto the roster in that capacity. And, hey, that would take care of a significant problem in my view. I know Levi Bell's not going to look like that against starters, but if he can play, then that helps significantly to deal with the temporary loss of Morris, and to a certain extent, you could even say Cameron Young. John Radigan did look better. That stood out to me. If we need him on the roster for now because of the Vi Jones injury, then the way he played today is going to help him out a little bit. He did look better. I still think that there's some physical limitations there, but he's making his way back, which is great. The little bit we saw Devin Bush, I thought was good again. Not as splashy as that first game, but I thought Devin Bush played pretty well, played the run pretty well. The main thing that got us in this game was just losing contain on quarterbacks. We had like 4 plays, maybe even 5, where we had the coverage down pat. The quarterback couldn't find anybody to throw to. He gets a little bit of pressure, and then he takes off and runs for the first down. And Jordan Love did that to us, I feel like 3 times. I think Magoo did that to us once, or maybe it was Clifford. So a little bit rough there. That was the main thing that allowed Green Bay to keep their drives alive. Other than that, I actually think the defense, generally speaking, held up as well as you could hope. Mike Jackson had a mixed game after last week's mess. He gave up the touchdown. He did get beat, I think, one more time and get bailed out by Jarek Reed, but he also had a couple nice plays in coverage. He had a blocked extra point. He he brought some positive things to the table in this game, unlike last week, which was nice. Still, I don't think anybody's going to feel amazing about where Mike Jackson is in his ramp up to being able to play on week one, but the reality is he's probably playing for us pretty significantly in week one. So hopefully what we see in the regular season is better than what we're seeing right now because, again, there was just too much bad. But at least I can say this week there was some good. Now, some really cool stuff from today's game, I thought, happened in the secondary with Jarek Reed and Artie Burns. And Artie Burns, look, Artie Burns is an 8-year veteran. I don't know if he's going to make this team, and I don't think he's going to want to be on our practice squad. He's been in the league too long for that kind of stuff. And I don't think we really need him in that capacity. But Artie Burns, I thought, played really well, really good in coverage. Really consistently strong back there. And if he doesn't make this team, he deserves to make another team somewhere because of how good he's looked so far this offseason with us. But this one matters more, Jarek Reed. Because early in this game, Joey Blunt, who, by the way, was looking really good too. I got to give Joey Blunt his shout out too. He gets hurt. By the way, I have a bad feeling about that injury. That was the one injury in this game that looked like it might have been something. The Devin Bush thing doesn't look too bad right now, but yeah, Joey Blunt might actually seriously be hurt. So Jarek Reed plays a lot, and I thought he played awesome. He was making plays in the backfield. He was coming up in run support. He made plays in coverage. He was kind of all over the place. I thought Jarek Reed may have been our best player in this game, and constantly being around the ball and making plays on the ball and the ball carrier, that stood out to me more so than anything he did in those first two games. So obviously Jarek Reed was probably making the roster anyway. Now I think he definitely is, especially if Blunt is seriously hurt, which I kind of feel like he is. So good for him. That was some really good stuff from Jarek Reed the second. He especially when you compare him to the other defensive backs we had out there at the end of the game, who are projected to be fighting for a roster spot, like Ty Okada, like guys like Chris Steele. He just looks way better than those guys. So that was very encouraging to me. That I would say that is probably my player of the game. And that's most of the stuff that happened out there that mattered. We had a couple penalties, but I didn't think it was overly overly troublesome, especially when you're playing a bunch of backups. We did have a punt get partially blocked. Green Bay was kind of try-harding early. It kind of looked like they were try-harding because they had their starters in and we didn't. But obviously over time that evened out, and I think by the second quarter or so of the game, everything had pretty much evened out. Yeah, to me, the biggest concern, and I don't know if I'm really concerned about this because this is in its own way kind of a good sign, but we had so many plays where everything was just locked up. We were able to get a little bit of pressure on Green Bay. The pass rush overall today was just okay, but we had things locked up in coverage, and then Love or Magoo or Clifford just takes off and runs, and we've got nobody around to stop them, and they end up picking up chain movers. So if that's your biggest problem, you're probably feeling pretty good about yourself. And yeah, I'd say we're ready for the season, guys. What else is there really to say about what happened out there? I guess I want to give a little bit of a shout out to Thompson, because even though there wasn't a lot of run blocking out there, even though there wasn't much help, I thought he did everything that he could out there, and I thought that he actually played a relatively effective game given the circumstances that he was put in. But yeah, I kind of feel like that's about all that there is to say in terms of stuff that matters. Like Patrick O'Connell looked better, but I just don't know if that matters. Like, he'll be lucky. I think he has long odds to make the practice squad personally. So, how excited can I get about him looking a little bit better? No long snap miscues that I noticed the entire preseason, which is great. Not a lot from special teams today. I guess Winston was able to have a pretty good punt return, which combined with his receiving exploits today, he was our leading receiver by far. Maybe that gets him onto the roster. I don't know. Final thing, I guess, would be Cade Johnson had a chance to impress today, and he just couldn't quite do it. He had a chance to make an awesome third down catch. Couldn't get his feet down in bounds, just misjudged the sideline, I think. So that might have been his opportunity kind of wasted, whereas Aesop Winston Jr. took his opportunity and ran with it. And yeah, I think that's all that need to be said. I'll be streaming in a little bit here. A little bit later, I'll stream for maybe an hour, hour and a half to talk about some post-game stuff. And yeah. So Seahawks lose, but they look ready for the regular season. I will see you guys later. Go Hawks. Catch me on stream here on YouTube a little later. Catch me on Twitch later tonight. And we're ready for the real games.